Good evening, guys. It is April 29th, 2022. On this video here, I want to talk about just I have this thing in my mind, and it's related to machinery and appliances, cars, anything that's mechanical. Okay? Why in the world does everything have to be so complicated? I mean, that's just one thing that absolutely drives me nuts to no end. Um, Everything seems to be way overly packed with features, way overly computerized, way overly complicated in absolutely every way. I mean, there's just no need for it, in my opinion. It just drives me insane. What's wrong with the old style of um, using a knob to start your dishwasher, or your washing machine, or your dryer? What's wrong with the old key to turn and start your car? I mean, that's one thing that has really been driving me crazy, just beyond irritating me, is all these push button start cars that are coming out now. That just bugs me to no end. Um, that is the one thing that I absolutely hate with a passion with cars. I do not like them at all like that. Um, but not only that, just other things in general. You know, heating and air conditioning systems. Why are those getting so complicated? I mean, this is just something that I think about, and I know to an extent it's planned obsolescence. I get that. But as a consumer, this is one thing that I will say. I demand and expect reliability and longevity out of something that I invested in, especially if I spent several $1,000s on. There is no reason for me to have to replace it every 5 years, every 6 years, every 10 years. There's no reason for it. None whatsoever. It's absolutely ridiculous. What happened to the simple ways of repairing things to where you just had to put in another belt or another pulley or something? Now you've got to put in all these circuit boards and stuff, and sometimes they don't even make those available, flat out. It absolutely drives me absolutely crazy. Just beyond crazy. Um, and I get it. I mean, you know, people want features and stuff, but I think about long term. And I think a lot of people, especially in my generation, they're so used to everything being disposable that they can't even think of something lasting, 25, 30, 40 years. Um, it just boggles my mind that my generation can't even think of that. Um, like in my kitchen right now, I have a refrigerator that is almost 30 years old. And for the most part, it has no issues. It has just the tiniest issue with freezing on one side of the refrigerator, but that's it. You know, knock on wood, it's still going. You know, so I just look at things like that and I just think to myself, why in the world are we expected as consumers to buy something only to have it break and not have the customer support, and not to mention that it fails way, way, way before its time. And I can guarantee you there are things that we've had in this house. I mean, we've had the same washer and dryer for the last 17 to 18 years and have never had an issue with them. Not once. You know, yes, they may squeak a little bit. Yes, they may be a little more noisy than they were when they were new, but they're still going. You know, and I've talked about this before, but this is just something that I am absolutely passionate about. And I cannot stand the way the industries of appliance manufacturers, car manufacturers, and all these other companies are going. I don't trust them. I mean, if you were to tell me, oh, we're just going to get you a brand new refrigerator, I wouldn't even trust that thing to make it 5 years. I would be just looking at somebody saying, like, well, good luck with that, because I don't think it's going to last. I mean, it's just one of those things. Now, I do understand that the older stuff will eventually break down. I understand that everything has a lifespan. But you have to admit that lifespans on new appliances and new vehicles and new mechanical things are becoming shorter and shorter because they just flat out refuse to make them with the appropriate components to hold up over the years. I mean, it just drives me crazy. It really does. Um, you know, and the more I look at it, the more I think to myself, like, okay, you know, certain things, you know, unless I absolutely have to have it, I may just do away with having it in the first place. Like dishwashers, for example. I just ditch the dishwasher and I would just hand wash dishes for the rest of my life because I'm not paying money for something that's going to be absolute crap. It's just not going to happen. Nobody can convince me otherwise. I mean, unless it's built to the standards of lasting 15 to 20 years that the old ones were, I just don't have an interest in it. It just doesn't make any sense for me to drop $500, $700, $800, $1,000 on a machine that is not going to last. You know? Now, I haven't had a whole lot of hands-on experience with newer appliances, but I can tell you that I've seen a lot of people who have had appliances that fail way, 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 way before ours do. Like, they'll buy them in 2010, and by 2018, they're already, you know, burned out and they're done. When we still have the same washer and dryer that we bought brand new, by the way, from 2005. This is something that absolutely drives me crazy, and I will not tolerate it anymore. It's just getting to the point where, you know, why do things have to be so complicated? Why do things have to be so computerized? What's wrong with the old fashioned reliable gear system with the knob that you can just turn? I mean, it's just, to me, it's just like they think, oh, well, you know, it's just easier to program and blah, blah, blah. And that may be the case, but at the same time, I just kind of think to myself, like, what is going on here? And that's the other thing, with smaller things like fans, air purifiers, heaters, space heaters. More and more of them are going to this digital display that's just way more complicated than it needs to be. All you need is a 3-position knob. 1, 2, 3. And off. And that's it. That is all you need at the end of the day. Why do things have to be so complicated? For me, especially with a fan or an air purifier, what is the deal with that? It should not be that difficult and that complicated. It really shouldn't. I mean, there's just no reason for it. You know, and then you have all these, things that have touchscreen controls and all this stuff. I mean, I'm sorry, but who in their right mind actually thinks that that's okay in appliances? I mean, maybe some people do, but I sure don't. I think electronics and appliances have no business being combined. That's just my opinion. Because appliances are meant to serve a specific function, and it's not meant to be an electronic device. It's just not. It's meant to be mechanical and be a machine to do a certain task for you and to be reliable. Keeping it simple in replacing a belt on a washing machine or a dryer when it goes out or something else happens. It just is one of those things that just drives me absolutely crazy, and I just cannot stand it. But unfortunately, that's just the way of the future. It seems like, everybody's all into this hyped up stuff and all this, fancy schmancy stuff. And I mean, if you like it, then hey, more power to you. But, I think of it from the perspective of being mechanically minded and having skills of mechanics and hands-on things. Motors, gears, belts, pulleys. All of those things, bearings, things like that. But things have become so disposable to where it's planned obsolescence, and they're hoping that you'll just throw it away and get a new one. And I have a note for all the people who, are environmentalists and are screaming like, waste less, waste less, waste less. how is buying a modern appliance or machine that is designed to be disposable and cheap and be thrown out in any way, shape, or form environmentally friendly? It's not. I'm sorry. I mean, you can argue with me all you want, but nobody can convince me otherwise that it's any more environmentally friendly. Think about all the machines that have been replaced, you know, over the past 5 to 10 years because they just aren't worth fixing or aren't made to last. And then think of all the machines